crucial information, hopefully practical information over the next hour. And let's just get into it because we really only have limited time. First, I'd like to ask our panel of probably overqualified panelists to each introduce themselves in whichever order you choose. And something we were doing in the earlier panels is just shouting out producers' first placements. Let's switch it up. So introduce yourself and mention a placement that you're most proud of. How about that?
I'll start it off. What's going on, everybody? My name is Grizzly. I'm a platinum producer and a superstar. But the record that a lot of y'all might know me for, I just recently did Future Nicki Minaj's "You the Baddest." What's up?
What's up, y'all? This is StreetRunner. I got a record out right now with Fat Joe on radio called "So Excited." Did a bunch of work with Lil Wayne. Definitely Fat Joe put me in the game. Meek Mill, Rick Ross, Eminem, Nicki Minaj, a bunch of other people. All right, well, you know, just for those that don't know.
How y'all doing? I'm Jay Oliver from Baltimore, Maryland. The last record I did, I produced and wrote Push It On Me for Trey Songz and Kevin Hart. And I do a lot of stuff for Meek Mill, French Montana, Kurt Cobain, Trey Truth, Nipsey Hussle, a lot of people. Not as accomplished as these two guys yet, but you know, I'm working.
So the landscape of the music industry, especially how beats are placed, has changed a lot in the last 10 years. We're going to talk about a lot of those changes throughout the hour. But what are some major differences you've noticed from when your career first started to present day?
Yeah, I guess I am the longest in this right here. So I started off. I had to make this thing. It was called the CD, and I would burn music onto it, and we would pass it out to the actual artist. Like it's this little thing. It's like one side is really reflective. You know what I'm saying? Point at the sun and melt your eyes with it. But no, it's basically, it was a lot of hand-to-hand, like, I'm not trying to sound that old, but the internet really wasn't what's up, you know what I'm saying? Like, you couldn't, like, MP3s was, I don't even think MP3s was, like, really quality, like in 03, 02, I think they sound like shit. So you had to actually, like, go see the artist, go see the A&R, go make trips to New York, go make trips to wherever, and actually play beats for artists. It was much more challenging. The grind was much more irritating. I remember a lot of cold nights in New York City, waiting 6-7 hours in front of a studio until Fabulous would get there, or doing some shit like going way out of my way to meet up with Ice Pick at Rough Riders, or whatever the case was. I was doing it. I was out there in the trenches just trying to get it. But now, man, I can send you an MP3 and that's it. I'm good, like it's pretty simple. So, yeah.
I say for me personally, I haven't been in the game quite as long as my man here, but for me, I would say the quality of the sounds have changed tremendously since when I started. I remember using, I don't know how many producers are in here, but how many of y'all familiar with sound fonts? The little bullshit sounds, man, come on, man. You know what I'm saying? But, nowadays, I can get away with doing some shit, make it sound like it's live, it's just straight finesse. So I would say the quality of the sound.
I would actually say that this whole thing with the loops has kind of changed. I mean, they've been doing it, but it's gotten a little bit more crazy now, especially with, I'll give you a little cheating tip, Splice. So with that website, like, I actually did something the other day where I took tempos and I just mashed them all up and I just dragged and put it in there. So I didn't even make a beat for real, but I made a beat, if you get what I'm saying. So I've never witnessed nothing like that in my life. The fact that I could take a Spanish guitar and then go to another person's page and take a loop with the same tempo and drag that into, you know, my program and make a beat, that is crazy. Because starting, you know, we have to make it, you know what I'm saying? Like, we have to make the beat from start. But I will say this, if you do that as a producer, it will bite you in the ass when they tell you to make a beat from scratch. But that is something crazy, different that I've noticed.
Please briefly describe how you placed your first major beat.
For my first placement, it was Fat Joe, Terror Squad, Take Me Home. I was basically, like, I linked up with my mans. He went and knocked on Cool's door with a CD, and Cool was like, "Yo, I'm in session, come back." In like a couple days, I listened to it. We jumped in the ride and started playing on some shit. And there was one particular beat on there which was actually called "Let Me Take You Home." And at that point, he was like, "Yo, this one right here, hold this down." And probably within like 2 weeks, I got a call, and he was like, "Yo, this is gonna be huge. Don't let nobody get that track. It's gonna be a big look." And you know, maybe a month after that, I got to actually meet Fat Joe, and my man's Mike Beck introduced me to him. And he was like, "Yo, this is the guy who made Take Me Home." And then from there, the rest was history. I met Khaled that same night, and then we just started building from there, just from there on.
My first placement, I actually got my first placement before I was Go Grizzly. I was Big Drake. You know what I'm saying? But my first placement was it was Young Thug and Jose Guapo, and this was before like Young Thug that we know Young Thug today. This was before Teeth fixed Young Thug. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you know, he was a local superstar, so it was like everybody at my school knew the record and they knew I did it. So it was like, you know, I was kind of feeling myself because they tried to make me feel like it's like, hey, he a local superstar too. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that, you know, that was before Thug was popping, but like as my first label placement, I think it would be Kevin Gates. I ended up with like 4 joints on his first project after he signed to Atlantic.
Yeah, my first placement was on Joe Budden's mixtape Halfway House. I did Anything Goes, but my first major placement was with French Montana on his album Excuse My French. And pretty much I was working with a guy named King Los, and Los is from Baltimore too, so that's like my big brother. You know, pretty much he was helping me through the game. And I remember I was doing a track with Los. It was Los, T-Pain, and French Montana. And I was asleep at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and Los called my phone, and he was like, yo, somebody want to talk to you. And I was like, yo, I'm asleep. What you mean somebody want to talk to me? He's in LA time. He's like, yo, it's real important, yo, like, somebody want to talk to you. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm on the phone, and then Puff get on the phone, and Puff like, yo, he's like, you the producer of this record? I'm like, yeah. He like, yo, this shit ain't right, yo. He was like, yo, these drums, he's like, man, you gotta fix this shit. He was like, if you don't fix this shit, nigga, I'm just gonna get Mike Will to do it. And I was like, yo, like, you know, I had to register, I had to process it. It was like 3, 4 in the morning, and that's not something you really want to hear. And then Los got back on the phone and was like, yeah, Lo, bro. He was like, you gotta fix that. But on a good note, I think I got you a placement on the French album. So then everything got better a little bit. The next morning I went and I had to go fix the drums on the record, so Mike Will didn't do it. And that record never came out, which is crazy, but I did get that first placement on the French album. So I definitely broke down. I started crying. I ain't gonna lie to y'all, because it's just so hard to get a placement. So, and that was in 2013.
So let's talk about it. Go Grizzly just mentioned he got 4 records on the last, the very first major debut Kevin Gates album, and I heard someone cry like, that's a lot, and it is. I see a lot of long-lasting relationships in a lot of producers' careers. You know, specifically StreetRunner and Lil Wayne, for example, or Go Grizzly and Kevin Gates. 4 records is a significant number. It's kind of atypical for a producer to have that many placements on a single album. What makes those professional relationships that strong?
I think most of all, it would just be the chemistry. It's like you can't, you know, vibe with somebody and if it's not authentic, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, if y'all have, you can make good music together, but I think face to face, you guys kind of, you know, got to get along and like each other, for a second, you know what I'm saying? But definitely chemistry.
Yeah, it like with me and Wayne, that was like real natural. Like I met him in the parking lot at Hit Factory. I passed him a CD, and like 1 hour later, One Night Only and Pop Pom Pom was recorded. And at that point, I just was like, yo, this dude is gonna be a problem. This was like right after Carter 2. So I knew like I had to just feed this guy. And then the next night he recorded Run With Trouble. And we just kept going. Like he just kept calling me to come to the studio. I was dropping sessions, I was getting sessions, I was doing what we had to do to make dope ass music. And that's why I got on almost all the albums since Carter 3 on. Just work ethic and just providing him with heat that he could do his thing with, you know what I'm saying? Being consistent, you know what I'm saying? Make sure the play button was right. And then same thing with Fat Joe. Fat Joe's just like my brother. So he calls me up, yo, he always knows I'm gonna come with it. He always applies that extra pressure. The shit will drive you fucking crazy. It'll be like that Puff Daddy call on a million. But like, you know, you just take that pressure and you don't let it fold you up and break you down. You just grow from it, get better, and make sure your shit is hot. You know what I'm saying? That's it.
Well, I haven't had necessarily a relationship. The only artist I really had a relationship like that is with Los and Meek Mill. But you know, relationships is very important because my relationship with Los, if a lot of people know, you know, Los doesn't have a major record out right now, but he has a lot of connections inside the industry, and he basically pretty much single-handedly got me to all of these artists that I work with. And me and Meek Mill, we grew a good relationship. And you know, it's crazy because I met Meek before, of course, but at the time I didn't. Matter of fact, I didn't meet Meek until this summer actually, and I've been working with him since Dream Chasers 3. And I remember I got a text message from Meek one time. He was like, you could be like, you know, my Kanye, you know, I could be like the Jay-Z, and we just gotta make something happen. You know, we gotta do something different. You know what I mean? And when he texted me that, it was crazy because I was like, yo, you think I'm good? Oh yeah, you think I'm nice? I got that work? Okay, you know, let's try. Cause me, honestly, like, you know, people can tell me that, you know, you're really talented, you're a genius, but it's like when you don't got them placements sometimes as a producer, you be like, well, damn, maybe I ain't what that is, you know what I'm saying? But you might be, but you just ain't got that placement yet. But so yeah, definitely building a vibe and a relationship with a person is always good for you to grow because you can help each other out and you can build something special.
So to piggyback off of what you just said, a lot of producers feel like they don't have the legitimacy until they get that placement. And with the changing landscape, what's dope about all your stories is they're so different. They're different eras, they're different situations. I can attest to that, you know, my personal story. The placements I've gotten have all been through an entirely different process. So a new producer wants to get major placements, and you know, they all do. What's the most important piece of advice you think you could give that producer?
The advice that I give producers all the time is, I tell them that the game is saturated, so you have to do something that you normally don't do. You got to get outside your comfort zone, and that is take it back and be an actual producer and stop being beat makers and start coming up with concepts and ideas and having whole songs ready for these lazy artists, because that's really what's going to get you in the door. And you know, every time I make a beat, I also write a song to go with it, or I write a hook to go with it, and that's what separates you from other people. So instead of saying, yo, I'm a producer, just be like, yo, I'm a songwriter, I got some dope songs, you know what I'm saying? And then a person will look at you different, especially producers. So it's an easier way to get into the door. And then if you come in and you can write dope songs, then you'll be like, yo, I make beats too. And you're like, damn, you make beats too? And then you really get in. And I'm not gonna lie, that's what I did with my friend here. And I told, you know, I saw him on a panel, and I was like, yo, Street, like, let's connect. You know, I got some concepts and ideas. You know what? Send me some beats. Let me write some of your beats. You know what I mean? Even though I'm a producer first, but, you know, he sent it to me, and I wrote some dope stuff to his beats, and we just built a relationship off of that, and it's an honor because this guy's a legend. So that's a great way as a producer to get in.
I would, you know, I was gonna say he pretty much answered everything.
You want to give us
another question?
Oh, you don't want to answer that?
I mean,
Pretty much hit the
Okay,
nail on the
yeah,
head.
I didn't catch the cue. All right, so a follow-up question to that is, say you're a new producer who just got a placement, their very first placement. What's the most important piece of advice you can give them to handle that scenario?
Like they just got a placement on a major album?
Yeah, a major, but it's their first.
Okay. Don't be scared to hand them the files because they need the files. It's got to get mixed. It's got to get mastered. Don't be scared, but make sure you have an attorney. Make sure the attorney knows what's going on. You know, your legal can cover everything, and make sure you got a contact with the direct A&R who's handling the project. And then from there, you just let your attorney just keep getting at them, like, all right, what's going on with this record? And then from there, you just play dumb. You don't have anything to do with it. You're just like, oh, what's happening? Is it a dope record? Cool, all right. You know, but let your attorney hit them over the head. You know, get as much money as you can out of them. Get all your royalties. Get all your publishing. And when they come to you and they're like, yo, but what the fuck? You're taking this much, you're taking 50%. We want to take some of your publishing too. You'd be like, yo, I don't know what you're talking about. Yo, you gotta talk to my attorney. I don't know what the fuck. And if you're like, they're like, yo, but your fee, what's going on? Just be like, man, I have no clue. Just play dumb. And just let your attorney handle it. And from there, you'll see that business works out very smooth. You know what I'm saying?
When you get your first major placement, don't fuck up the money.
I'll elaborate on that. Like, for example, if you get like $10,000, hold it down, you know what I'm saying? Don't go throw that shit in the air at the club, and don't fuck around and like buy the most expensive shit ever. Or if you get like 10, 20 racks because you got 2 joints on the album, you know what I'm saying? Don't go get a loft, spend $3,000-4,000 a month on rent and shit, and like go get a fucking Porsche, and then next thing you know, you're fucking broke as fuck because nobody else is like rocking with your shit, and you're waiting for the next whoever album to get like 1 or 2 more on there again. That shit ain't the look. So just like keep your money tight. Make sure like you save up because it's called rainy day productions. We all know about it. So like if you gotta have that stash, you know what I'm saying, like for those days until you get your money all the way right and you got income consistently coming in, you know you're good. That's when you know you could like splurge on certain things, go get that car you want, go get those, you know, whatever the fuck you want to rock or whatever, you know what I'm saying? But until then you want to stack up chips, you know, and keep being able to be self-employed as a producer and not have to go work at a you know, whatever job, you know what I'm saying, to make your income, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like Grizz said, don't fuck up the money, man. I'm telling you. And because, you know, as a person that ain't never had it, you know, once you get it, you couldn't do certain things. Like when I was young, I couldn't buy certain shoes. I couldn't, you know, niggas eat noodles every night, stuff like that. I would say when I first started getting money, I was eating out every night, and you'd be surprised how much money food costs when you eating out every night. So it's like, really, don't fuck up the money. And you know, I've had people like Street. I ain't gonna lie, Street's like my mentor, so that's why I refer to him a lot. But you know, I've had people like Street and Troy Taylor tell me, you know, there's a reason why you haven't come into money yet. You know what I'm saying? Because if I'd have got this money back then, I probably would have splurged, you know what I mean? But that's not what you want to do. And you want to save that money to put you in a good position to where as though you don't have to work. You can just be self-employed.
So, speaking of money, a major source of income and opportunity as well for producers is the publishing deal. And I know some of your publishing situations, I think, Grizzly, you signed an APG, right? And well, we had a long conversations way back about publishing, me and you, Street.
I'm a free man. Fuck that shit.
Oh, hey, congratulations, because you weren't the last time.
No, I'm out that shit.
All right, okay. So
I had to fight Sony ATV for a year straight and got out that bitch, so I'm good.
Yeah, you know what? I'm glad they took me off the panel where I was supposed to interview Sony ATV's VP, because this would be really uncomfortable for me. So a lot of producers producers don't understand the ins and outs or even the basics of a publishing deal. I'm opening a can of worms here, but can you describe what a publishing deal is and how they work for producers, or in your case, how they work against producers?
They own your life. They own your income. I know I just want to say this because this has impacted my life for the past month, but Street has a lot more, info on this, but I can tell you this, really be careful when you're doing these publishing deals, yo, because I was signed to an independent publishing company and they ain't collect no royalties from me for the past 4 years. I'm talking about I have like 30 placements. I haven't seen not a check. You feel what I'm saying? And they was taking 50% of everything that I did, and I couldn't do no business with nobody. No producers wanted to work with me, no publishing companies wanted to work with me. They like, oh, you signed what? 50% of your publishing? You little nigga boy, you idiot, you don't know what you're doing type stuff, you know what I'm saying? And every time I talk to Street's always like, man, fuck these publishing companies. You need to just do an Avid deal, man. I'm a free man. And I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I get it, you know what I'm saying? And now that I know the business, I understand it, and I'm learning more. So Street could definitely tell you more to keep you from signing your life away, because that's what you're doing.
Yeah, like if you're gonna get a check on a pub deal, which they don't do this anymore. They used to do, like, I remember when I first came in the game, they were giving out checks $800,000 for a publishing deal. Like, I knew producers who got $1 million on a publishing deal, 500,000. Like left and right, I was seeing this happen. Now those are life changers. You know what I'm saying? I'll never tell somebody not to go get $1 million check ever. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's a life changing check right there. You could probably get that check, and if you're smart with your money, never do shit ever again. You're good. But today, these labels are like giving out not even a quarter of that. They're like, you'll be lucky if you come off with 100,000, 150,000. Maybe if you got like back-to-back singles, you might get 250, 300. You might could like bump it up, But they're really not trying to have that, and they're structuring their deals much differently. I mean, I think all of us can say in this room, like, somebody wants to throw you 150,000, it's gonna change a lot of people's lives. You know what I'm saying? Like, all of a sudden, you're on your last, like I was on my last $1,000 when I got a publishing deal, like, and that shit saved my life, and I was able to live off of that shit forever. So, but you also start to realize, like, all the money that you could have made. Like my catalog could have made at least probably twice, 2 to 3 times as much if I would just help it, as opposed to them just collecting for me. So me personally, like looking back on it, I would just say get an administrator who knows the business, knows how to handle publishing, knows how to license music properly, who's in your corner, who will make sure every song, because this is the new thing. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but nowadays artists aren't in a rush to register their songs or finalize publishing shares. So you'll end up on an album, and in order for the song to count towards publishing, it needs to be 100% accounted for. So say you got in rap music, especially 8 writers, easily can be on a song. You can have, 2 to 3 on the track rapping. You can have somebody who ghost wrote the hook, that's 4. And then you can have a producer, and then maybe a co-producer, maybe one other guy who chimes in and wants, and then a fucking A&R comes through, or this guy like, yo, I helped finesse that, and then you gotta get that motherfucker 5%, or whatever the case may be. Next thing you got 7 people on this record, and like it'll be like one of the rappers always like just like holding out, like not turning in his share, or you'll have to fight them. And those records don't count until those are all accounted for, all 100%. And at the end of the day, after like 3-4 years, the record's not worth shit, because that money just goes straight to the executives at all these labels, all these companies. So you end up getting nothing, and the song ends up being worthless, and your publishing ends up never counting So you want your stuff to be properly administrated through, whether it's you gotta go have a person who goes after them for you or whatever the case may be. I mean, that's very complicated shit. Sticking to the script, I'm gonna just say, if a publishing deal comes to you, if you're blessed enough to get an offer on the table, you know, unless it's gonna change your life, you know, see how long you could go without taking it. Maybe get some counter offers. Try to work it to where instead of it being a co-pub, which they own your shit for forever almost, go into more of an administrative deal. You know, work it in your favor. Make sure you have an attorney who knows what the fuck they're doing, so that you don't get jerked. And that's pretty much it, you know.
Do you have a positive?
Well, yeah, okay. Well, I will say this, because for me, in my experience, I received my first pub deal when I was 17, 18. I was still in high school. So, you know, for a young dude in high school, like, you know, getting offered any type of money, that's, you know, a come up. But luckily, you know, having the type of people that I already had around me, like I had a good attorney, I had a really good manager, and they were already very well seasoned and stuff like this. So I did actually receive a decent deal, you know, a decent pub deal for the circumstance. And for a young person having nothing, like I didn't have any real credits at the time. It was just, I was signed right around the same time as Kevin Gates, and we had a good sound together. They put two and two together. It was like, hey, let's get these two together. So it, you know, it was pretty much a game changer for me, because, like I said, for not having any connections at all, having a pub deal, you know, in a powerhouse like APG Warner Chapel, they get first dibs on all the movie placements, on all everything. So it also depends on who you're doing your publishing deal with, you know. But you know, it doesn't always have to be bad, as long as you can utilize it for what you can to get the best out of it, you know.
How old are you, man?
I'll be 23 on the 19th.
Yeah, I heard you talking about getting signed up to APG as a kid.
I got several people who would tell funny stories of me doing fucking calculus homework in the studio sessions and shit. Like, yeah, I was lit.
Hey, I never made it to calculus in high school, so shout out to you. Speaking of being young and dealing with the business, I recently did an interview with, I don't want to say his name and open up another can of worms, but a young man who produced and got his first major placement and lost all of his publishing because he signed a contract with a major label that he didn't understand. Of course, he didn't have a lawyer. He didn't have a lawyer review it. I think probably like a cousin who said, yeah, I could do it, probably looked it over and said, yeah, this is good, it's money. And so he got his check and then realized he probably missed out on 100 other checks. And I uploaded it to YouTube, and because it's the internet, people have their opinions. So the popular comment from a bunch of producers, and I'm trying not to get annoyed by the producer community for spreading misinformation, was that, well, he shouldn't have signed a work for hire contract. And I keep hearing the term work for hire come up throughout this conference. So rather than me going on a rant about work for hire, would you please share your experiences with work for hire and maybe explain what that is and what that entails? And then, as a part B to that question, have you ever, well, is it typical for labels to try to get producers to sign away their publishing, and have you ever experienced that?
Yo, they think we stupid. First off, I'm start like that. They think we stupid, and when you're younger, they try to use and they try to get over on you. Don't ever sign no work for hire contract. Like, I mean, I can't. It's just crazy, because it's like when you sign a work for hire, you pretty much don't get nothing but that upfront money. And a lot of people try to get you to work for hire, so they don't have to, of course, give you any publishing, any percentages, or even deal with you, you know, later on. And that work for hire, to me, is not where it's at. They can never catch me with that. Like you said, if you have a good lawyer, you know, they can do that. I remember there was a famous New York artist that wanted to do a track with me, and they was trying to get me on some work for hire, and I was like, nah, it's not happening. And then they got an attitude with me like I did something wrong. So, you know, I'm not really a fan of that work for hire. What was the second part of it?
Oh, have you ever, so I guess you have experienced someone trying to take all your
Oh, yeah, it's not gonna happen. Oh, labels, yeah, they do try to of course, they're gonna get what they can get. I mean, if they can finesse you, of course, that's what it's called, right? So when rappers be talking about finessing people, right? Well, yeah, if the label can finesse you, they're gonna do that. So it's up to you and your lawyer to protect you, and of course, people in your circle who know the business.
Now, I've been blessed to not have a work for hire ever handed to me. And basically, just duck and dodge them. I know there are situations though, like if you're a musician, some of those guys have no choice but to do work for hire. Yeah, guitar player, bass player, piano player. But you know, make sure you still get paid, you know what I'm saying? Like make sure if you're not comfortable with it, make sure there's a fee that you're comfortable with. So when you do sign off, you're good. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I never had that situation.
Yeah, neither have I.
Let me ask you a quick question, because we got into a big Twitter conversation about this, and then a lot of producers chimed in and said the majority of major label contracts, they're based on work for hire, but they don't necessarily take all your publishing. It is typical, correct me if I'm wrong, for the label to assume copyright ownership over the beat once you sell it to them, correct?
Oh yeah, that's a given.
Yeah, so and that's a provision of work for hire as well. So I guess I'll just sum it all up. Don't ever sell your publishing, always have a lawyer, because you don't know what's in that contract. A lot of people are intelligent, a lot of people are competent readers, but unfortunately when they give you a 28-page producer agreement, it's a lot in there. And you can scan over it all you want, and there's always going to be something that you might not catch.
I'm gonna say this too. If you ever do a deal with Interscope Records, their attorneys over there are extra shiesty. So watch out for Interscope Records. Their attorneys will fuck you up. Like they'll fuck your attorneys up. You got the best attorney in the world, they do some shit. They're amazing. So just side note that.
Here's another question. Landscape has changed. A lot of the music industry has moved to the internet almost exclusively now. Are any of you utilizing the internet to promote your brand, not necessarily using it to sell your beats directly, but using it to further your career? If so, how are you doing that? And if you haven't, why have you made that decision?
I mean, for sure, the social media nowadays plays a humongous role in this music industry. Nowadays, it's like when you create a brand and you have legit fans, you know, people want to see what you're doing. They want to, they want to be aware of what's going on. So you have to capitalize and utilize that, for sure.
Yeah, on Instagram, Twitter, whenever I got a record or a song that I produced, I make sure, like, I tweet it out there or Instagram it. And then I use my website as like a discography, biography type thing, to where I could just text it to anybody who isn't familiar with my work. I could just text it over to them and they could just scroll through it and see all the shit I've done. You know what I'm saying? That's like what I do on the internet.
Yeah, I be on the gram. I got all type of, social media sites and stuff like that. But you'll never catch me on YouTube with no type beats. If you producers in here, you know about that YouTube and them type beats. All you artists out there be going on there searching type beats and shit like that. Nah, you won't never see none of my beats on there. I don't got a website where I sell beats either. I like to send out beats personally to people to get a vibe versus just having a website. I got throwaway beats, you know what I'm saying, but I don't have them up on a website. But I do utilize the internet to brand and market myself, which everybody should be doing. Everybody in this room should be doing that.
So another thing that's come with the internet and its increasing influence on the music industry is brand new revenue streams that are available for producers. And there, I think, are more revenue streams available for producers now than there ever have been. Can you name a revenue stream that you've recently started taking advantage
I think it's interesting how nowadays they're counting streams now as album sales. I forget the exact number, but I think a certain amount of streams count as one album sale, and that's definitely digging in my pockets for sure. And then it definitely helping them to receive more plaques because plaques are getting easier to make, with streaming instead of having to really sell 1 million records.
Now that I'm not in a publishing deal the way I was, I've taken advantage of collecting all the money that's owed to me on YouTube for all those fucking Lil Wayne records that people put up and got 2, 3, 4 million views on each page, each video, and all these random ass videos. So I had somebody go after all that shit. And that makes a good income.
Yeah, can I ask you who did you use? Because that just happened to me like within the last year, and I missed out on thousands of dollars by not. It's an admin deal, but specifically for YouTube, and it's based on your publishing split. It's not even necessarily content ID. It's just.
But you can't be signed to a pub deal.
You can't be signed to a pub deal, which I'm not. But the company I went to was Create. So what was your company? Create. Oh, we're signed to the same.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's good company. So if you're not in a pub deal, more freedom to collect money on, especially like, you could fuck around and have a record that drops, and next thing you know, it's got 50 million views on YouTube. If I'm not mistaken, I think every million views is worth like around $4,000, give or take. And then it gets broken down within the publishing shares and and then I think YouTube takes a percentage, but it's money there, you know what I'm saying? And some of these labels that sign you up into these publishing deals don't go after that money for you. They forget about it. Because it's a very intensive collection, situation to constantly police YouTube on your views. So that's one way. But there's so many ways. There's neighboring rights. That's your music around the world. That's like number 3 highest paying royalty rate is going after your music and financial earnings around the world. That's like that's big. Of course your publishing is valuable, and then royalties. Whenever an album sells 1 million copies, you're owed fucking money. Like that album made some serious fucking bread at a million sold. So usually at Gold, they'll tell you not recouped. All the labels will be like, we're not recouped, even though they made a lot of fucking money, they're not recouped. Music videos don't cost shit. Only thing that costs money right now is like if the artist is still trying to do radio and hit top 40 in radio, we know that costs stupid money. But we can all say it's safe to say that music videos don't cost $1 million anymore. There's a lot of money earned at 1 million sold. So if you got 1 record on there or 2 records, you own 50% of the publishing. You got royalties, which sometimes for some producers they get bump ups at Gold, bump ups at Platinum. You can end up at 4 points at Platinum, and the album can be fully recouped at 1 million sold, and you can start earning some serious bread off that. So that's good. Same thing with the Platinum single. You know what I'm saying? So these are all different ways to earn money.
They pretty much touched on all the ways to earn money, but I'm gonna tell y'all some slick shit, right? So y'all familiar with loops, right? What I was talking about earlier with the whole thing. So let me tell you what producers is doing. I was doing the math, right? So producers is out here basically, right? So I'll make a beat, and the beat won't even be, I'll probably make a beat and make it like 12 bars, right? And then I won't even finish the beat. And then I have like maybe 6 different instruments, and then maybe I have the synth, then I have what's under it, maybe a kick, a snare, hi-hat, right? And I bounce those down into each separate, and I put that in a folder, right? So I do that 15 times, and then I put on there J. Oliver's loop pack, right? I put it on the internet, and then I sell it to you guys for $15, and then I put, these are, I think, exclusive, what is it when you you still collect is it
Non-royalty.
Non-exclusive, but you still collect royalties on it.
Royalty, not royalty free.
Yeah, not royalty free.
Master clearance guarantee.
But I'm not. No. The opposite of that, where you would still have to.
You get the money, but you guarantee them that they can use it. You just have to collect on it.
Yeah. So I'll do that, right? So you guys probably don't even. A lot of people don't even know what you just did when you did that. So, if I put that at $15 a pop, right? So that's $15, and then I sell it to over maybe 1,500 people. That's $22,000 independently that I just did, basically by putting a pack of loops in a folder to sell to you guys. So not only am I collecting $22,000, but if you guys get a major placement with somebody like J. Cole or even Drake or somebody like that, guess who else you got to pay me? You got to pay me again because I didn't make it royalty free, right? Okay. Yeah, so that's another way to make money and income. How many people knew you could do that? So y'all all knew y'all could do that, and y'all should be rich. Why y'all not rich? Y'all gotta get on that, man. It's just little stuff.
Yeah, that's cool.
Nah, Street doesn't like that. I don't think he likes that.
I don't do kids.
Oh, he doesn't do kids. I'll tell you somebody who did that though.
I don't give nobody my sound.
Cardiac did it. Cardiac got a placement on J. Cole's album after doing that.
That's cool.
That's pretty crazy to me, like when I seen that, like that's just, because Cardiac's dope. You can create these loops, put these kits out there, and then somebody comes along, and it's basically like co-producing almost, you know what I mean? What is it?
Drum broke.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So if you gotta eat, man, you gotta eat. But some people don't do that. Some people do it to where as though you don't have to give them the credit on it too. So there's different ways of getting money.
Change the pace. Do you have management? Why or why not? And in your opinion, what should the primary focus of a producer manager be?
I most definitely have a manager, and he's a great manager. I think managers are there to be put in place to coordinate on your behalf on the business. And, as a producer and a creator, you usually don't, want to have to think about all that paperwork and, things like that. You usually want to stick to, I just want to make my shit and get the fuck on. So their job really is to, facilitate on your behalf, making sure everything business-wise is coming correct, whether that's, making sure you got split sheets in order, producer decks, or, any other type of paperwork that, your attorney wouldn't maybe take care of, he's on it.
Yeah, I can't say I got management. I handle a lot of my own business. I deal with the artist direct, and then when it comes to the business, it's usually like the A&R hitting me up, and it's through email. It's usually pretty easy. I just tell them what the fee is, and then go to my attorney, and that's it. Yeah, you do need a manager when you're getting started, and you're trying to get your shit popping, and you're still trying to make your heat, and you need somebody to knock down all the doors for you. But once you start to like get the momentum, and you got your go-to guys that you constantly work with, and you're constantly linking up, nobody's gonna go harder for you than you. You know what I'm saying? And I've realized that over the years. Like, I've had a couple guys who try to rep me, but nobody would do it harder than the way I would do it. You know what I'm saying? So I just took it into my own hands and handle my own shit.
Management, man. I used to be managed by Kevin Lyles, and it was a bad time in my life. Honestly, Kevin is a great dude, you know what I'm saying? But Kevin was also managing people like Trey Songz. He had the Migos. He had a lot of big people over there. So I had like 1 or 2 placements. So I was not a priority. And like he said, he nailed it right on the head. When you have a manager, you want a manager that's gonna be just as hungry as you. That's gonna want, to get it just like you want to get it. But when you have a manager that's worth $60 million, it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like it don't add up, and you find yourself in a messed up situation. And me and Kevin parted ways, and then I went and got another manager that I thought was popping. And, he manages DJ Carnage once again. somebody else was very huge in the game, and I did once again, second strike, learned my lesson. And I told Street, and Street's like, man, you don't need no manager. You should manage yourself. You know what I mean? So, I don't have any management right now, but I did say to myself that if I was going to do another management situation, it would be my best friend. And me and my best friend came into this game together. He was a producer too. I was just always 10 times better than him. But, he also understood the music business, and he had that same drive. He was taking trips to New York every weekend. He still does that. He was taking trips to LA. But he just didn't have the contacts, but he had that same hunger. But now I'm in the game to where as though I have these contacts, now I could be like, yo, holler at this person, meet with this person, and then we can get it together. But management, honestly, you just got to be real careful and don't get somebody that's super big, because if you're not super big, they won't have no time for you.
Yo, imagine somebody who has $60 million getting 10% of $10,000. Like, what is he gonna do with that? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not even like, I don't know. Yeah, you can see the priorities wouldn't be there.
I didn't have anybody to tell me not to sign that management deal at the time. So, I looked at it. Anybody would. You always sign with Kevin Lyles. If he came in here and said, I'll manage you, you always sign with him right now. So, I mean, it was one of them things. You say, come to New York, I came to New York. What you mean? Bought my own ticket, I was there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't know what I was getting myself into, and even after I signed the contract, he said, who do you want to work with? I said, Jay-Z. He said, I can call him right now. You know what I mean? It was stuff like that, you get excited for, and then you go back to your state, he's in his state, you call him, he doesn't answer. Then you look in your contract and it says in your contract you can only talk to him at least one time a month, stuff like that. So it's just like, you gotta be careful. And they appoint you a day-to-day, and the day-to-day, my day-to-day was on the road with Thug every day. So it was like, it's just one of the things where you really just gotta be careful. I ain't gonna lie, I've been scoring, man, but that's why, I got this guy here now. So, everything is getting much better, but yeah, man, management. You gotta be careful.
All right, well, you just set the tone for my next question. Can you share a negative experience you had in the industry that you learned a valuable lesson from?
Yeah, pretty much my whole career. It's been negative. But I think my most biggest, honestly, the crazy thing is, negative stuff makes you who you are. It really shows you who you really are. Because when I came into this game, I was one of the most cockiest little dudes, coming out of Baltimore, Maryland, because there was nobody in Baltimore that could mess with me. You know what I mean? And all the negative stuff that I went through, and I'm looking at other people's success, and I'm like, these guys ain't better than me. These guys ain't better than me. And then it hit me in my head, like, you know what? I got to stop saying these guys ain't better than me and check myself. All these negative situations that happen to me because I'm not listening. I'm not listening to these people that are telling me, yo, don't do that. Yo, have a lawyer look at that. You know what I'm saying? And, so I can say, like, these negative things have definitely helped me. But I will say this. Don't let anybody question your loyalty when signing deals. If a person says to you, yo, you're not loyal because you won't sign something that they want you to sign, don't think that, yo, I'm really not a loyal person, because sometimes they're not loyal to you by having you sign some messed up crap. You know what I'm saying? So I can say that. Don't let anybody question your loyalty when signing deals. Do what's best for you and your family.
Yeah, that's a major red flag when they start to turn into a personal thing.
I got sued for $1 million and felt like a dick. That's serious. Rolling Stone sued me for a fucking sample, and yeah, you can't even fight Rolling Stones, like no chance. So even if I was a little bit right, it would probably cost about $500,000 to prove that. So I just took the L, and all these companies had to front the money, and we all had to pay it back, and that shit fucked me up good. And that was a life lesson right there, for sure. For sure.
Now, luckily, I've been pretty blessed. I haven't had really too many negative experiences in the music, for sure.
This guy's got it made. This guy is like cozy fucking season over here. Jesus Christ. Everybody's got their own path, and this man's path is cozy right here. Straight up, like,
All right, let's talk about something positive at the end of the day. Favorite piece of equipment or VST or drum kit, anything that you think is necessary when you sit down and make a beat?
For me, my favorite program of all time is FL Studio. I swear, when I get my first M off FL, I'm getting it tatted right. You feel me? I got to. But yeah, for me, it's all about the VSTs and whatever sounds you're using. I think a big one for me is Omnisphere. And producers in here, you may know what's up with Omnisphere. It's a lot of sauce, man. But me, I don't use anything but my laptop and FL Studio. I do all my shit the hard way. I know a lot of people are, good with the finger finesse, but I be clicking. You know what I'm saying? I click all my shit in the note. But I know I'm a little nerd with that shit, low key. But hey, it works.
I'm gonna say it used to be the MPC 2000 XL, but now I just work on Pro Tools and make all my music on Pro Tools. But one thing that hasn't changed is just like having a massive collection of music and records and vinyl, and being able to get inspired by samples and sounds that are on records, and taking those and flipping them into something very unique sounding and getting a musician to play on top of them. Like to me, like that's like the base for me, like to have a vibe and build to it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the way I've always made music. That's how I kept myself consistent. And as far as like VSTs, I'm I don't know, not really like heavy on that. Like I'm more or less like maybe plugins like Decapitator. I decapitate every fucking thing. And stereo effects and shit like that. But I get down on my laptop, Pro Tools 10, get some records, get some vinyl, get a turntable, sample that shit, and go get busy. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. I really don't have a favorite thing, but I mean, I use Logic and Reason. I rewire Reason to Logic. I started off on Fruit Loops. Back in high school, I even had a music production class in high school, and my teacher was terrible, so I ended up teaching that class. I was using Fruit Loops, but then and he was trying to teach us Cakewalk. I'm like, bro, nobody uses Cakewalk, bro. I was the only one in there. He's like, Fruit Loops is a part of the requirement. I'm like, well, you suck, and nobody uses Cakewalk. So, I was using Fruit Loops, and I was teaching everybody in the class Fruit Loops, like we would sneak and use it. But then I switched over to Reason, and then my homeboy Jay Mike, he came over his house one day, and he was like playing these records for me, and he played like Super Bass that he did with Kane Beats, and I'm like sitting in my seat feeling uncomfortable, because I'm like, yo, what is this? Like, how does this sound so big? And he's like, oh, I just use Logic. And I'm like, oh, okay. I ordered a laptop the next week, and then switched over to Logic, and then that's when I started getting placements. So I use Logic. I love Logic too.
All right, we have basically a minute left. Quick shout out your socials, how people can find you, how they can contact you, and so forth.
For me, everything, all social media is at Go Grizzly, GOGRIZZLY.
On Twitter, I'm at SRBeats. On Instagram, I'm StreetRunner Music. And my website is StreetRunnerBeats.com. I got an email on there. You can contact me on the StreetRunnerBeats.com. I also got all my music on there that you can listen to, catch a vibe to. And I got a SoundCloud. I don't know. I think you just search StreetRunner, I pop up, and I got a mean playlist. Like, it's all my shit there. Like, a lot of Lil Wayne leaks and shit. You could be in the gym and just play that shit. Get mad pumped and shit. That shit's hard. So, like, you go in on that, and I got a lot of shit coming out in the near future, so just be on the lookout.
You can find me. I think it's IamJ Oliver. I changed it it was Jay, but it's IAMJOLIVER 410. You can find that on Instagram, because it's like another nigga named Jay Oliver in Africa, and they was like confusing us, and I couldn't get my verification because he was more popping than me. So then I changed it to that. So y'all can find me on that.
All right, give it up once more for our panelists.